So today we're going to be talking about the distributive property to simplify expressions. So again, this is all dealing with expanding. So as you can see on your note, it says the distributive property. What we do is we multiply every term inside the bracket by the term outside the bracket. So sometimes you would have seen that this is called, the rainbow for this. So just as a reminder, whenever we have brackets, remember that that operation means multiplication. So I'm going to take this A and multiply it by B. And then I'm going to take this A and then multiply that by C. And then we'll get the answers for that. So it says here, step 1, we expand, which means we eliminate the brackets by using the distributive property. And then step 2 is we simplify by collecting like terms. So we're going to go over our first two examples here. There should be an end bracket on that one that's a little bit darker. Okay. So again, I have brackets here, so I want to eliminate the brackets. How do I eliminate the brackets? By using multiplication. So if I look at this first bracket here, there's no number on the outside. Well, there actually is. Again, when there's no number, it means the number 1. So I'm going to take that 1 and multiply that on the inside of the bracket. So what do I get? 1x squared. 1 times negative 6 gives me negative 6x. 1 times positive 3 gives me positive 3. So then I have to do my next bracket here. I have one here. What do I have to do? I have to take, it means multiplying when I have brackets, so it's saying I have to take this positive 2 and multiply that on the inside of this bracket. So positive 2 times 2x gives me plus 4x squared. Positive 2 times positive 4x gives me plus 8x. Positive 2 times negative 7 gives me negative 14. So that was my first step in eliminating the brackets. Now you'll notice here for this first example that anytime you multiply something by 1, you always get the answer in itself. So what am I going to do here? Now I have to group my like terms together. So I take my x squareds, I take my x's, and I take my constants, and now I'm going to write them beside each other. So this becomes 1x squared plus 4x squared minus 6x plus 8x plus 3 minus 14. And then as our final step, I should be having equal signs here. As our final step, we just add and subtract the coefficients. So 1x squared plus 4x squared gives me 5x squared. Negative 6x plus 8x gives me plus 2x. That works. Doesn't like me there. Okay, and then my last one here, positive 3 minus 14 gives me negative 11. So my final answer is 5x squared plus 2x minus 11. My next example here, so you're going to notice here, my first step is to eliminate the brackets. I don't have a bracket here. So I'm just going to rewrite all of these terms the exact same because my first step is to eliminate the brackets. There's no brackets here. Now, I do have a bracket here. There's no number, so what does that mean? The number 1. More specifically, it means the negative 1 because the negative sign is in front of that 1. So I'm going to take that negative 1 and multiply that inside the bracket. So what will I get? Minus 2xy minus yz plus 4xz. Okay, so you'll notice that when it's a negative outside of the bracket, a negative 1, it just changes the sign on the inside. So now my step is going to be grouping like terms. I have an xy here, an xy here, a yz. Oops, I meant to choose a different color. Yz here, yz here, xz, xz. Again, it's not too particular which order you kind of group this in. So I'm going to go in the order that it appears here. So I'll write 5xy minus 2xy plus 4yz minus yz minus 3xz plus 4xz. Okay, so I can now simplify that. 5xy minus 2xy gives me 3xy. 4yz minus yz, again, remember there's a 1 there, gives me positive 3yz. Negative 3xz plus 4xz gives me plus 1xz. And that's my final answer. Okay, going to the next example here. So when we expand this, you're going to notice what's the difference between this example and the first two examples that we just did. Well, now I have a variable on the outside of the bracket. So recall, when multiplying variable terms, we have to add the exponents. We did that the other day. So again, just as a reminder, I'm going to put the exponent 1 when there is no exponent there. So again, I'm going to do the distributive property here. 3 times 3 gives me 9, a, and then I have a 1 and a 2, which gives me a cubed. 3a minus 4a, well, 3 times, that should be 3a times negative 4a. 3 times negative 4 gives me negative 12, and then a squared. And then I can do my last term here. 3a times negative 5 gives me negative 15a. And we can look there, I have no variables that are the same, so this is my final answer. Okay, we'll do another example here. So I have lots of brackets that I have to eliminate here. Again, I'm just going to fill in the ones just to make as a reminder that I have the exponent 1. So again, I'm going to take this first bracket here and I'm going to multiply that in. 2 times 3 gives me 6x. 1 plus 1 gives me 2, 6x squared. 2x times negative 5 gives me negative 10x. I'll take my next term here. So what am I multiplying here? Negative 4x. Inside this bracket, negative 4x times x. That's a 1. So negative 4 times 1 gives me negative 4x. And then 1 plus 1 gives me 2. Negative 4x times negative 7 gives me plus 28x. My last set of brackets here, I take 3x times x. That gives me positive 3x squared. 3x times negative 1 gives me negative 3x. Okay, so my next task here, so I've expanded, and you always want to check, can you simplify this any further by collecting like terms? So I have 6x squared minus 4x squared plus 3x squared. Those are all like terms. And then I have negative 10x plus 28x minus 3x. So on my next line, I will write 6x squared minus 4x squared plus 3x squared minus 10x plus 28x minus 3x. I forgot the x there. Okay, so on my next step here, I'm going to simplify all of these x squared terms. So 6x squared minus 4x squared plus 3x squared gives me 5x squared. On my next line here, I have negative 10x plus 28x minus 3 gives me plus 15x. And then that's my final answer there. I'm just expanding and I'm just simplifying. Okay, that's when we have a monomial, so one term multiplied by a polynomial, which means many terms inside the bracket. Okay, Our next step here is that we are going to be doing a binomial times a binomial. Now we had an acronym that you would have been exposed to last year, which is FOIL, to help us remember which terms to multiply together. So our FOIL stands for our first terms in each bracket. Okay, my first terms in each bracket are 4x and 2x. So I'm just going to write the F there. So I'm going to write the equal sign. I'm just going to leave a little bit of space because I'm going to be drawing some arrows underneath. So 2x times 4x gives me 8x squared. Okay, the O stands for outside terms. So I look at the whole thing. My outside terms, they're on the very, very outside. That is my O. So I'm going to multiply that 2x and the negative 5. So 2x times negative 5 gives me negative 10x. My I stands for my inside terms. My inside terms, again, I'm not going to write in each bracket. The inside terms, again, if you look at the whole piece as a whole, the inside terms are here. So I'm just going to write an I. So when I take positive 3 times 4x, I get positive 12x. And then the last one here is the last term in each bracket. So that would be 3 times negative 5, and 3 times negative 5 gives me negative 15. So now I've just expanded that. That acronym can help us with FOIL, or the FOIL acronym can help us distribute a binomial times a binomial. Now again, I'm going to simplify this further. I have like terms here. The middle terms are like terms. So I have here 8x squared. I can simplify that piece too, plus 2x minus 15. Okay, so again, that should be a bit of a reminder from last year. Okay, we're now going to go on to this example here. I have two sets of FOIL, but I also have a constant on the outside of each term. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take care of my FOIL first. So what that means is I'm going to kind of do a square bracket here and a square bracket here. I'm going to take care of that FOIL. So I am going to drop down this 3, and then I'll have my bracket in here. And my bracket in there is going to be what I FOIL. So again, I'm going to multiply my first terms together. X times x gives me x squared. I'm going to multiply my outside terms together. X times positive 2 gives me positive 2x. I'm going to multiply my inside terms together. Negative 4 times x gives me negative 4x. And then I'm going to multiply my last terms together. Negative 4 times positive 2 gives me negative 8. Okay, I'm going to continue this. So then I have a minus 2. And then again, I'm going to multiply. Oh, I need my brackets. Forgot that. I'm going to multiply my first terms together. X times x gives me x squared. I'm going to multiply my outside terms together. X times negative 3 gives me negative 3x. I'm going to multiply my inside terms together, plus 5x. And then I'm going to multiply the last terms together in each bracket. 5 times negative 3 gives me negative 15. Okay, I'm not done yet. So I've just done FOIL. Now I'm going to, there's a couple ways you can do this. You can simplify what's in the brackets. So you can definitely simplify um, these like terms here, which is what I'm going to do, or you could do the distributive property, but I'm going to simplify it first. So on my next line, it will read 3 bracket x squared plus, whoops, it's actually not a plus, minus 2x minus 8 minus 2 bracket x squared plus 2x minus 15. Okay, now this becomes like a question that we did at the very beginning of the note today. And I'm going to do the distributive property. I have a 3 outside the bracket, so I need to multiply that in, which gives me 3, oops, that's supposed to be a 3. I'm going to write a little 3x squared minus 6x minus 24. That's that first bracket. And then I'm going to have here, I have another one. I'm going to take that whole negative 2 and multiply that on the inside of the bracket. So I have negative 2x squared minus 4x plus 30. Okay, and then you should be pretty familiar with the next step. We are going to group like terms and simplify. So I'm getting my like terms together, my x's, my x squareds, and my constants. So on my next line, I am going to write 3x squared minus 2x squared minus 6x minus 4x minus 24 plus 30. And then I get, as my final answer, 3x squared minus 2x squared gives me 1x squared. Negative 6 minus 4 gives me negative 10x. Negative 24 plus 30 gives me positive 6. And then that would be my final answer for that. So there's lots of work to do. When you have these questions, you want to do FOIL first, then do the distributive property second. So you can refer to this example when you're doing your homework. Okay, this next example here, I have a trinomial times a trinomial. Now we don't have an acronym for this, but we're just going to do the distributive property with this. So here, again, I'm going to take my first term, I'm going to multiply that x squared by everything inside this bracket. So I take x squared and I'm going to multiply it by 2x to the exponent 4 plus x to the exponent 3 minus 2x squared. So I just take that first term and I multiply it by every single term in the bracket. Then I'm going to take this next term, negative 3x, and I'm going to multiply it by every term inside that second bracket. So I'll get here negative 6x cubed minus 3x squared plus 6x. And my final step, I have to take this last term here and again multiply it by every term in that last bracket. So it's negative 2x squared minus x plus 2. Okay, so I have lots to work with here. So again, I'm going to start grouping them. I only have one x to the exponent 4 term. I can then find my cubes. I have 2 of them. I can then find my squares. I have 3 squares. I can then find my x's. I have 2. And then my final term there. So I'm going to rewrite this on my next line. 2x to the exponent 4 plus x cubed minus 6x cubed. And that's it for that one. And we're going to go to our squares. Minus 2x squared minus 3x squared minus 2x squared plus 6x minus x plus 2. Okay, and my next example, or sorry, my final answer is 2x to the exponent 4 minus 5x cubed minus 7x squared plus 5x plus 2. Okay, and when we have a question like this one, for our very last example, I have y squared minus 2y plus 5, all squared. Okay, that is another way of saying, whoops, this. Y squared minus 2y plus 5 times the exact same thing. You're going to times it twice. Times y squared minus 2y plus 5. Okay, so what do I have to do? I have to multiply that first term by everything in that second bracket. So I'm just going to start over here. So that becomes y to the exponent 4 times 2y cubed plus 5y squared. Then I take this middle term here and I'm going to multiply it by everything in the second bracket. So I have here minus 2y cubed plus 4y squared minus 10y. Okay, and then we take this last term here and I'm going to multiply it again by everything inside that bracket. So I'll have plus 5y squared minus 10y plus 25. Okay, so I'm going to group my terms. I only have one y to the exponent 4 term. Then I'm going to take care of all of my cubes. I have 2 of them. Then all of my squareds. I have 3 squareds. My y's, I have 2 y's, and then I have 1 constant at the end. So I'm going to rewrite my final answer as y to the exponent 4 minus 4y cubed. Oh, I have to group them. Sorry, I'm giving you the final answer. I'm skipping a step. I shouldn't do that. So sorry. Okay, 4y squared. And then I should have minus 2y cubed minus 2y cubed plus 5y squared plus 4y squared minus 5y squared minus 10y minus 10y plus 25. Okay, and then my final answer here becomes y squared, or y to the exponent 4 minus 4y cubed plus 4y squared minus 20y plus 25. And that's my final answer. Okay, so you are going to find that you will have a worksheet. Again, you are to do the worksheet on a separate line sheet of paper. If you don't have a line sheet of paper, please make sure you ask the person sitting next to you. Again, please make sure you return any calculators if you've borrowed them from me. You're going to want to check your answers with what is on the worksheet. And I will see you tomorrow.